Every day, millions of developers send HTTP requests. We call APIs, we open website, we hit backend endpoints. But have you ever wondered what actually happens internally the moment an HTTP request is sent? How does the request reach the server? How does the web server understand it? How does it decide which code should run? And how does your controller method finally execute? In this video, we will understand the complete journey of an HTTP request step by step in the simplest way possible. Let's start from the browser. There are two very common ways HTTP requests get created. First, you type a website URL in the browsers, and second, a front-end application may internally call a backend API, right? Even though these look different, both of them eventually create an HTTP request. Now, URL has multiple parts, right? First one is the protocol, which is HTTPS. Second is domain name, which is myapp.com. And the third is path or endpoint, which is /users. Now, the moment you press enter or the front end triggers the API call, the browser create something called an HTTP request. Along with this request, the browser also sends additional information like headers, cookies, authentication tokens, and sometimes body data. So basically the request payload. Now comes an important question. The browser knows the domain name, but where exactly is this server located? Because computers don't communicate using names, they communicate using IP addresses, and that is where DNS comes into the picture. Humans remember names like google.com, but computers communicate using IP addresses. So the browser asks DNS, what is the IP address of this domain? Now, internally, DNS resolution itself is actually a very deep process. There are DNS resolvers, root servers, TLD servers, authoritative servers, caching, and many things happening behind the scenes. We will cover that entire process in a separate dedicated video. But at a high level, DNS simply converts a domain name into an IP address, right? Once browser get the IP address, it finally knows where the server exists. Now, before the browser can send the HTTP request, it first needs to establish a connection with the server. And this is where TCP comes into the picture, because HTTP itself is just an application level protocol. HTTP does not directly send data across the internet. Instead, HTTP runs on top of TCP. You can think of TCP like a reliable transportation system. Its job is to make sure data reaches correctly, packets arrive in order, lost packet are retransmitted, communication is reliable, and now before any actual HTTP data is sent, TCP first creates a connection between the browser and the server. And to establish this connection, TCP performs something called the three-way handshake. So first, the browser sends sync, which basically means, hey server, can we start communication? The server replies sync ACK. So in simple terms, the server says, yes, I received your request and I am ready. Then the browser sends ACK, meaning great, communication established. And now both sides trust that communication is ready. And only after this connection is established does the browser finally send the actual HTTP request. Now the request finally reaches the server, or you can say machine, where your backend application is running. Maybe your application is built using Spring Boot or Node.js or maybe Django. But here's something very important. Your application code is usually not directly listening to raw internet traffic, right? For example, if you have written your code in Spring Boot, then the controller method is not directly waiting for internet packets. Instead, a web server handles the request first. This could be Tomcat or maybe Nginx or maybe Apache HTTP server, right? So now let's understand what this web server actually does. The web server continuously waits for incoming client connections, and this process is called listening on port. For example, port 80 for HTTP, port 443 for HTTPS, and internally the web server opens something called a socket. And you can think of a socket like a communication endpoint. And then the server keeps waiting. Did any client send a request? The moment a request arrives, the socket accepts the connection. Now imagine thousands of users sending requests to the server at the exact same time. Some users are opening websites, calling APIs, refreshing pages, uploading files, scrolling applications. Now think about the server side. Can the server create a brand new thread for every incoming request? Technically, it's possible, but at large scale, that becomes very inefficient because thread creation is expensive. Every thread consumes memory. And if the server creates too many threads, the CPU spends more time switching between threads instead of doing actual work. And this leads to high memory usage, excessive context switching, slower performance, and sometimes even server crashes. And this is exactly why web servers use something called a thread pool. Instead of continuously creating new threads again and again, the server creates a fixed set of reusable worker threads. You can think of them like workers sitting idle and waiting for tasks. And whenever a new request arrives, one available thread picks up that request, and that thread then becomes responsible for reading the HTTP request, parsing headers and data, executing your backend application code, calling databases or services, generating the response, and sending the response back to the client. Now, what if all threads are busy? In that case, new incoming requests temporarily wait in a queue until a thread becomes free. And once a thread finishes its work, the server does not destroy it. Instead, it reuses the same thread for another incoming request. This approach is much faster, uses less memory, and allows the server to efficiently handle thousands of concurrent requests. Now the web server starts understanding the request. Remember, the request does not arrive as a Java object. It initially arrives as raw network data, right? So at the lowest level, this data is actually received as raw bytes from the socket connection. Now the web server starts parsing this data. It analyzes different parts of the HTTP request. For example, HTTP method, URL and endpoint, headers, query parameters, request body, and after extracting all this information, the framework internally converts it into request objects that your application code can work with. Now comes one of the most important parts of the entire request lifecycle. The web server has already received and parsed the HTTP request, but now the framework needs to decide which controller method should handle this request. For example, if you are familiar with Spring Boot, then you know the Spring MVC framework maintains something called route mappings. You can think of it like a lookup table, something similar to if the request URL is /users and the HTTP method is get, then call this controller method. Now your actual backend application code finally starts executing. This is the point where your controller method runs. But usually the controller itself does very little work directly. Instead, it may call different part of your backend system. For example, controller call service layer, your service layer call database queries or external APIs or maybe cache system or maybe message queues. And the application performs all the required business logic and finally prepares a response. Maybe the response is JSON data, right, or XML, etc. But internally the response is still just application objects and data structures. So the framework now converts that response into proper HTTP format. For example, a Java object may get converted into JSON, headers are added, status codes are added, and finally the complete HTTP response is sent back to the client. And now the response begins its journey back to the client. The data travels back through the same TCP connection that was established earlier. The browser receives the HTTP response. It reads status code, headers, response body, and the browser starts parsing the data. If it's HTML, the browser renders a web page. If it's JSON, your front end application may process it. And finally, the result gets displayed on your screen. What feels like a simple click or API call actually goes through multiple layers internally. And the most fascinating part, all of this usually happens within just a few milliseconds. So next time you call an API, remember what's actually happening behind the scenes. A browser sends a request, DNS finds the server, TCP establishes a connection, the web server accepts the request, the thread from the thread pool start processing it, the framework parses the HTTP data, routing decide which controller should execute, your backend application code runs. database are queried, responses are generated, and finally the data travels all the way back to the client. What looks like a simple API call actually goes through multiple layers internally, and slowly understanding these internals changes the way you think about backend systems, because real backend engineering is not just about writing APIs, it's about understanding what truly happens underneath. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to the channel and like this video. So, because on this channel we simplify complex backend internals using visuals, animations, and real world examples. Thank you very much for your time.